He's gonna make it clear. Did you know? Come on, listen here. Did you know?
Hello, welcome to the Did You Know Show. I am here today. My name is Brian Green. Welcoming everybody that's watching. I want to first off thank you guys for all of the positive feedback you've given us for the previous shows, whether it's been for Alzheimer's, lupus. The last time we had Night of Champions, McGee Rehab Hospital. But today, we're in the Germantown section of Philadelphia, and I'm with three very positive, intellectual individuals that have turned their not so good situation into a testimony that they really just drill into the community to promote positivity and how you really can turn your situation into a better situation. With me today, I have Reverend Michelle Simmons of Why Not Prosper, and I also have with me today my friend, my colleague, my word colleague, Mr. Rick Ford, who is entitled Special Liaison to the Deputy Commissioner for Community Development for the City of Philadelphia. And with him, we have Ramon Cruz, who is his assistant. And together today, we're going to talk about things like the opioid crisis. Reverend Michelle Simmons, Michelle, my friend, she runs Why Not Prosper, which is a reentry program. We're going to talk about, their experience with the opioid addiction and how they've helped individuals overcome and really just sustain their sobriety. Let's start with you, Reverend Michelle. Tell us about, a little bit about you. Tell us about Why Not Prosper as an organization and how you got to be where you are today.
All right, thank you so much for having me on the show, Brian.
I had to have you on the show.
That's right, I love it. All right, so my name is Reverend Michelle, and I welcome everybody to the show. Why Not Prosper is a transitional house for women coming from prison. Why Not Prosper was birthed from my adversities and my trauma that I suffered as a youth and as a young adult, right? So I had a lot of negative experiences, and it fostered incarceration and prison and addiction, right? And then in 2000, God released me from prison, and then he gave me a vision to start Why Not Prosper.
Wow.
Right.
And Why Not Prosper is an organization that helps women particularly that have been released from incarceration.
That's correct.
That are trying to make a change and re-enter the community and in a lot of ways reconnect with their families, in some cases their children.
That's correct.
A lot of cases in which their kids may have gone into foster care.
That's correct.
And you really mentor them, and the only way you really can do that, I think, is because you yourself have come through that.
That is correct.
One of the things that you've been on my radio show before, and we've done live broadcasts for different initiatives around the city, but one of the things I've heard you say over and over again is people have to want to do better.
That's correct.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, people gotta want to do better in order to get long-term recovery, period, right? They really have to be tired. They have to have hit a bottom. Sometimes people come into treatment and recovery because their mother said so. They come for external influences like a judge or a PO. When they're fostered into treatment because of those external forces, they don't really do as well as if they have internal forces, right? So if they're tired, if they hit a bottom, if they, they tired of running back and forth to prison and all of that, then they buy into this process. And then long-term recovery is more likely for them. So they gotta really want it. It ain't nothing you could buy. You could pull up with a Mack truck full of money. If a person not ready, they gonna keep using, and they're gonna keep using, and they're gonna keep using. Bottom line, that's what they're going to do, but something inside has to turn for them to say, you know what, I'm really gonna buy into this. I'm really gonna change. I'm going to let people that's no good for me go, because some of the NA literature and some of the recovery literature say that half measures avails you nothing. That means until you're ready to let go, absolutely, you're going to just keep going around the same cycle. So you really got to buy into that. And some of the evidence of that is like what I just said. Family members that's still using, they'll begin to say, you know what, I'm not going home no more. I'm not going to go see my cousins no more. That's a good sign that they're ready. When they keep saying, well, I can go over there and I can still be with my baby daddy and he sell drugs, that's not a good buy-in sign.
Right, you gotta change. You gotta change your atmosphere and change the variables around you.
Yeah.
Let's go to Rick Ford. Rick, you have a really good story, and you're now in the community People in Philadelphia call you the unofficial mayor. I gotta say, you're the type of person that if you go to a community event, and I've had that experience, if I don't know a lot of people, if I stand next to this gentleman right here, by the end of the day, I know everybody.
Okay.
But Rick, tell us your, if you don't mind sharing your experience and what has led you to your role today.
Well, I listen to Michelle, and I'm moved to hear her because I understand the movement of getting to the end of you. As she alluded to the fact that you got to get to the end of you. A lot of times, and I always go back to my very last day of using drugs. I got clean October the 2nd, 1990. But I always go back to October the 1st of 1990.
Go ahead.
It was the darkest time in my life. And it seems like the whole world is over there moving, and you're that little spot that seems to be so isolated. And they say isolation leads to dark rooms where negatives are developed. Something has to happen, and I share this across the world, that when I got clean, it was like, Michelle, and you can understand this, being like being in my mother's womb as a baby, Brian, the quietest moment of my life. Now, since October the 2nd, 1990, the quest has always been keeping it moving, doing what I need to do. Only you know, not your family, not your boyfriend, not your girlfriend, not your loved ones, not the parole, not the lawyers, not the churches. Only you know that you're on the road to recovery in spite of all opposition, friends, family, loved ones, people that you use drugs with. And I share this quite often with people living in the same environment, growing up in the straight streets of North Philly. These are my tattoos. You don't go with the South Street to get these. These are gunshot wounds and bullet wounds and stab wounds that you acquire in the streets selling drugs and doing drugs. So the journey of recovery, it could be complicated. Addiction is a funny thing. People need to understand the true nature and the depthness of what addiction is.
Sure.
I haven't had an urge, craving, or desire to go back. In spite of. So I thank God for the resurrection. I consider that my birthday is October the 2nd. That's my resurrection day. So that's why I do what I do. It says it takes a village to raise a child, but what about if the village is still sick? So we do what we do. We do what we do beyond financial gain.
Sure.
It's about being a vision of hope for people that are struggling out there. As we sit here doing this wonderful show, and I'm like you, Michelle, thank you so much, Brian, for having us on this here, because the viewers will understand that just as we sit here this very moment, outside this building, folks are out there dying. Somebody using drugs for the first time, possibly the last. Some phone is ringing somewhere with bad information on the other end. Some family's en route to the morgue to identify the body. Funeral arrangements is being made for somebody right now. So we're doing this show to bring hope and healing to those folks who've been oppressed with addiction, drugs, guns, and violence.
They don't see themselves any further in this life, in this existence, than using. Ramon Cruz, your assistant to Rick Ford, tell us about your experience and why you do what you do.
Well, first I want to thank you, and I'm honored and humbled.
I'm glad you could be here.
Thank you. And my life has been a true blessing. And when I say a true blessing is, I spent the last 25 to 30 years in and out of incarceration. And I lived, and incarceration and addiction.
Okay.
And the fact that today I do what I do is truly a blessing. And working with Rick is truly amazing and an experience that I never fathomed to be in.
Okay.
And I say that because for many years I dealt drugs and used drugs in the Kensington Ferryhill section, which we know is like the epic center right now of the opiate addiction.
Right.
And I still live there today, and I do a lot of work in that community. And people ask me, you work now, you make pretty good money. Why don't you move out? I was born and raised in Kensington. I was there when it was a thriving business place. People wanted to be there. And I was also a real big part of the problem there.
Sure.
And to be part of the solution today is just a blessing. As I told you, 3 years ago, I walked out of prison, And today, to see where my life has evolved, it's just a true blessing. And I give all the glory to God, because without him, I wouldn't be in my position. And I say that because my recovery is based spiritually.
Okay.
I never forget where I come from. I always remember the pain and the discomfort that I went through. I just celebrated 3 years in recovery.
All right. Right on.
So just to spread hope and healing in my neighborhood. And when people see me in my neighborhood, they say, wow. Because they know the life that I lived. They know how I was. And it's truly amazing, man, when people see you and say, wow, if he can do this, you know, and it spreads hope. And we need that in the Kensington Fairhill section. Because when people hear Kensington, the first thing they talk about is the epidemic and opioid. We need to know that good people come out of Kensington.
Absolutely.
That's good.
And so if you just tuned in, my name is Brian Green. I am the host of the Did You Know Show. We're sitting here, we're talking with three very, first of all, I say positive, but very honest folks, because, you know, when you're in addiction, one of the things you have to do if you're really going to be serious about recovery, is my understanding, you have to do a very good personal assessment of your situation and be honest about it. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back on the other side and continue our conversation with Reverend Michelle Simmons, Rick Ford, and Ramon Cruz, and we're going to talk more about what we're doing in the community together. What are some signs that you could probably look for? And then what are some things you could do to encourage people to make a change? Stay tuned.
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is a DPW-approved Medicaid provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services. Doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations. Always.
Did you know?
Hi, welcome back to the Did You Know Show. We're talking today about the opioid problem, epidemic, but more importantly, we're going to focus on how people can try to get right and how to deal with it, whether you're the individual yourself or whether you're a family member, whether you're the village that is well, that's trying to help in a positive way. With me, we began a conversation with Reverend Michelle Simmons, Rick Ford, and Ramon Cruz, all from the Philadelphia area where I'm from. I just wanted to mention before we get started, Rick and I are both radio jocks hosts on Saturdays. My show is at 4 o'clock, the Did You Know Show, on WRD, Black Talk Media, 96.1 FM and 900 AM in the Philadelphia area. And Rick's show is at 6 o'clock.
Right.
And you know, you're my buddy, you're my partner in positivity, and you're submitted in the community in a way that's special. If you guys don't mind, I want to get back to something. I want to ask you, if you don't mind, sharing briefly your bottom and the addiction and what turned you around. Rick, you briefly got into it. I want to share that with the people that are watching, in hopes that we can share, you know, a realness in the reality, whether you're in it, you've passed it, or you want to try to help somebody get over it. Ramon, let's start with you.
Well, my bottom was, as I told you, I came home from doing a federal penitentiary sentence, and I was home for almost just 11 months and went back on a violation for using again because I was in that lifestyle and went back into my addiction. And my point was when the judge told me, if you ever come in front of me again, you will not see the day of light.
Wow.
So when I got back into the prison, inside my cell, and sat on my bed, I could not realize myself doing the rest of my life in prison.
Okay.
Something had to change.
Yeah.
So it was that point and moment that I said, I need to change my life.
Okay. Rick, you had two dates that are familiar to you.
Yeah, and you know, I think I always go back to the last transition from October the 1st, 1990 to October the 2nd. And I mentioned earlier it being a quiet moment. But one thing I know for sure, that the gods that lives up above us, there were two voices that were going on. the obsession to continue using drugs, and then a quiet moment of saying surrender. Now, that word speaks in volume because it was a subtle voice. And I can share this with you. I cried all that day long. Listen, I cried all day long, and I couldn't understand why I was constantly crying. I found out years later, I was telling this to somebody on the elevator, the lady said that was God cleansing you. And that, so the bottom, and talking about bottoms, some bottoms have track bottoms. There are many times I wanted to stop using, and I want folks to get this, that trying to stay clean on sheer willpower is a temporary solution for a lifetime problem. I want to reiterate that. Trying to stay clean from drugs on sheer willpower is a temporary solution for a lifetime problem.
Okay.
Many times I try to stop on my own. I can get, you know it, we can get clean for 30 days, 60 days, but something about the compulsive nature of addiction would drive you back. And a lot of people that are viewing and listening now can say, oh, I can stop using, but could you stay stopped when mama died? Can you stay stopped when the phone rang and the house caught on fire and all your family died? Can you stay stopped?
Okay. Well, something else happens.
That's right, that's right. You have to rid yourself of the reservations.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I'm sitting up here tearing up, and like I'm so proud of myself and my co-partners right here on the show today, right? As I was thinking about my bottom, like I'm so proud of myself, right? And my bottom happened for me in Los Angeles, California. So my disease took me from Philly to LA in '94, and I had left my kids here, and I was going for 2 weeks. I was going to go get some money and come back, okay? Because that's what my lifestyle was doing at that time. And I got over there and got stuck, and I just found myself in jail and get out and back and forth. But on June the 2nd, 1999, well actually 1994, I was in a hotel, and I was sitting there, and me and these girls was running back and forth on this strip where you make money. And this one day I had this one rock left, right? And I said, I gotta hurry up and get this rock, because if they see it, they gonna want some, and it ain't enough for everybody. I need this one rock. So I was sitting there, and it was like a moment of sanity. So I had that one rock, and right before I popped the rock onto the pipe, it was a Bible in the drawer, and I started reading that Bible. And I remember that minute sitting on the edge of that bed with that Bible in my hand, and I was like, I'm so tired. I said, I want to go home. I want to go back to my kids, but LA wouldn't let me go home. They said, you got to get a year clean, and I couldn't do it. So every time it was time to see the PO, I would find myself running again, and I was absconding. So this one day in the hotel, I was sitting on the edge with that one piece of rock and that Bible, and I said, I want to go home. I said, I'm tired of my hair looking like this. I'm tired of feeling like this. I remember it so clear. And the girls in the hotel was like, why are you tripping with that Bible? So anyway, I was saying, Lord, just help me, right? I didn't know all what was going on, but I had that conversation with God, with the Bible. So I put the rock on there, I smoked it, and ran out the door. And when I got out down to the bottom of the hotel, it was pouring down raining that night, and there was a phone booth right in front of there. So, you know, I was paranoid. I was looking down on the ground as you do when you smoke crack. And when I lifted up my head, a car was riding past, and I flagged the car down. And it was an undercover police, and he locked me up, and that was my clean date. And God had saved me that day in that hotel. I had prayed, help me. And as soon as I went out, I jumped in that undercover police. I offered him some. I said, how much you got, son? I didn't know he was a police. I was so high. He was like, if you would have lifted up your head, you would have seen I locked you up last month, okay?
You would have recognized me.
I couldn't. I had to took the hit. I said, you know, you look down, you don't look up.
Right.
And it was that day that I didn't know that was my bottom, but that was my last day using.
Okay.
And then when I was in jail, my roommate was Susan Atkins. She was a mass murderer. I wrote this in my book. I have a book out called Keep It Moving.
Right.
And when so God relieved me that day in the hotel. He locked me up. That was my relief. And then when I got to jail, I was on the bunk, and it was then that I knew that I was done, because I just said, Dad, I got a problem. I was sitting on the bunk. I had a star this big from crying, right? I wanted to come home. My mom wasn't talking to me, and I just said that I want to go home, and it was on that bunk. The lady said, Jesus love you, honey. She said, dry your eyes. She said, you're going to get to go home. She was saying, I'm never going to get to go home. She said, now go out there and live for the Lord. So she was preaching to me and keeping me saved or getting me saved, but I was having a moment of sanity. And after that encounter and God locking me up, I then, from the jail, inside the jail, from the cell, I went to the church.
Wow.
You understand? So, because in the jail, you could get some drugs. In the jail, you could homosexual. In the jail, you could gamble. And I was doing all of that stuff. But that day on that bunk, I just had a moment of sanity. I went to the church with her. And then before I knew it, my hand was like, I want to know the Lord. And then when I got saved in prison, I got baptized in prison, I went back to my cell, I got on my knees, and I started saying, God, I'm getting ready to go out, I don't know what else to do, and can you help me?
Yeah.
And that was the last time I ever used, that was the last time I ever was in jail.
Okay.
So it started from that hotel with the Bible, and then the lady, the mass murderer lady, the Folgers lady, that's what they called her in jail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was
just selling.
She was my cellie, CIW, California Institution for Women.
But you know what's interesting about that? And I'm saying this, you weren't arrested, you was rescued.
Well, that's what happened.
That's
Yes,
what it was. So for our viewers that are viewing, what positive that you're doing now in the community can people tune into? I know you do Why Not Prosper. And again, you know, if I'm somebody that's out there with myself that's coming to this day of reckoning, or I know I want to try to, you know, turn somebody on to this as an alternative.
Sure.
When do you guys meet? When do you?
Well, you know what? It need to be something that, like, for me, my story is everywhere I go, you know, for people that need recovery or need some type of help, because our world is so dark, right? People are really suffering. People are really tired, right? And I know I was tired, like Rick said, a long time ago. I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
You understand? I was 6 years running up and down the streets of LA trying to get back to Philadelphia. I've been wanting to quit, but I didn't know how. But for now, for people that want it, it is so many resources in the streets in the city of Philadelphia. You know, Philadelphia is called the recovery capital of the world.
Yes,
all the models and treatments and anything that other countries are doing, they come here and see what Philly is doing first. So people that want to get their life together, we got a very re-entry friendly city, from our mayor to our lieutenant governor, you understand?
Right.
All the way down our city council, people are giving second chances. We got the ban the box going on so people can get jobs. We trying to break those discrimination boxes up. So if you want to support people, stop labeling them, have mercy on them, you know, don't enable them.
I'm going to stop you so we can take another break. I want to get you some feedback from Rick. I want to come back and talk about Recovery Idol.
Sure.
So we're going to take a break right here. Stay tuned as we finish up the show and talk about what's positive out there, what's the positive alternatives for people that are struggling with addiction. Thank you.
Did you know?
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is a DPW-approved Medicaid provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services. Doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations. Always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. My name is Brian Green, and if you've been watching this show, you can tell that it's a very, very emotional show. I really wish we could, like my radio show I always say, I wish you could be here for the outtakes, because the outtakes sometimes take us other places. But as we wind the conversation down, I want to give Rick, I want to give you a chance to tell. We were talking offline about an experience when you went to go talk to a group, because you talk to groups of all walks of life. Sure. You were talking to a child that used drugs in hopes of that help them.
Yeah.
And what was the story? Just tell us the story.
Well, you know, it's funny, when you go into schools, we were talking to kids about the harms and ramifications of drugs, guns, and violence.
Gotcha.
So I asked the kids in the school, where do you hide your drugs at? And of course, they were kind of like numb to it. But the one kid said, well, I had my drugs in my parents' room, because they're going to be tearing up all the other rooms in the house, taking that's where they're at. He says, I go in their room and get my drugs out of there. And I thought that was clever.
Wow, and so for the parents that are out here watching, I hate to say it, if you suspect your child or children are, using, whether it's for the first time or it's ongoing, we really have to look at ourselves sometimes and really set boundaries and sometimes do tough love.
Sure. Yeah.
Rick, in a vein of positivity, you do Recovery Idol.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a little bit. What is Recovery Idol?
Well, quickly, Recovery Idol is a spinoff of what we know as American Idol. But
Okay.
Recovery Idol is for people in recovery. Quickly, what happened was I had a young lady who was in treatment. She relapsed. She was sitting on Lehigh Avenue. I said, what can I do? This is just a thought from God. I said to her, I'm going to put you in a fashion show.
Okay.
Now, we put her in a fashion show. It was called Fall into Recovery. It's a fashion show. We did it at Community College of Philadelphia. In the middle between scenes, we needed some entertainment. So the concept of Recovery Idol came through that. We got somebody that sang. Here we are today, 7 years later, it's important, people in recovery are very talented, whether through arts, entertainment, and fashion. We have world-class musicians accompanying the artists. So Recovery Idol is free and open to the public. We want folks to come out. We have 5 different events. It's great, man, and it's really about giving people an opportunity to showcase their talent. We get them to invite their loved ones, the haters, the police, the judges, the people who thought they were well below. As the Bible says, those that last will be first.
That's right.
So here we are with Recovery Idol. We are excited about it.
Wow.
Yeah, we are
and we see you out at the Dell. I always look forward to the Recovery Idol. In fact, Always Best Care is one of your sponsors.
Yes, they are. Yes.
we love sponsoring you. You work as a special liaison to the Deputy Commissioner for Community Development. What does that position involve?
I was the first case manager hired by the state of Pennsylvania back in 1993 to provide case management services for people who were in need of substance abuse. Since then, my role has evolved into community case manager. Then, Deputy Commissioner Roland Lamb, who I report to for the City of Philadelphia Department of Behavioral Health. I'm all over. I'm doing some work with the schools, with the police department. Currently, I run a baseball league with 200 and something kids playing a wonderful game of baseball, boys and girls. So it's really about going back into your community and giving back.
Okay.
Giving back.
And Ramon is your assistant, who I see down at the Dell all the time. I see you guys in the community.
It's the mayor of Kensington.
Okay. All right. And so, thank you guys so much for coming on to the show. I look forward to working with you guys in the community. It's a very short, space between us. We whisper to each other.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you.
Reverend Michelle Simmons.
That's right.
Rick Ford and Ramon Cruz. Thank you for being, outward and showing your low point, and hopes that somebody out there can take that and turn that from a lemon to a lemonade. My name is Brian Green. Thank you for watching the Did You Know Show. We'll see you next time. Take care and peace and light.
Did you know he'll help you understand? Did you know always a right-hand man? Did you know he's gonna make it clear? Did you know